Murder, She Wrote, I always played usually the bad girl and always with an accent. So I played the Russian spy and the French mistresses and the German terrorists and Swedish nannies and things like that. And I think by the time I did 18, I did Hunter first, I think. So I did quite a few of them, so they knew me. And that's part of it, I think.
And obviously, you mentioned that you'd appeared in a good lot of Stephen Cannell productions up until the A-Team. And obviously, when you appeared in the A-Team, season 4, height of its popularity. This is not season 1, season 2. This is season 4, A-Team, in the height of its popularity. The last episode on season 4, people wondering where they're going to be coming back for a season 5. So this is at the peak of its powers, obviously. They have a unique sort of storyline, a cliffhanger to end on season 4. So did you sort of know what you were coming into in terms of that guest role, that this was going to be a big episode in the history of the A-Team?
I did not. I had no idea. I just read the part. I knew the people, the Cannell people, and I think I might have read for them, or sometimes I don't, but I think I read for that part. And they just brought me in. And then, of course, you read the script. They send the script to you because it wasn't internet then, it was a script. And I realized this is a little bigger than it usually is. And I love that it's a cliffhanger in the end of the season, because then they kind of have to do another season. That's how you hook people, right? And intrigue them. I didn't know that. And then other thought about that show is that it was a super popular show, and it was pretty big budget. It was really big budget, I think, for that time, and those kind of shows, or any kind of series with the helicopters and car crashes and all that kind of stuff. I knew that the cast and crew were like bonded, and it's always a little tricky to come into a situation like that. They might be bored, the actors, everybody, and they are already a group, so you come into something completely new for you. So it was really interesting.
And Lena, obviously playing the character Michele, most of your interactions were with George Peppard, and obviously playing a bit of a flirtation with George. Did you find that good fun, that sort of acting out maybe a bit of a flirtationist sort of over and back with George Peppard, the star from Breakfast and Tiffany's that you might have seen with Audrey Hepburn back in Sweden growing up?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He. That's the thing to stepping into something with a very famous person, whether it's Angela Lansbury or George Peppard or Robert Wagner or whomever, that it's always a little intimidating. How are they going to react? Are they going to give you the warmth or the character, or are they? I've been when people just have a stunt person or a stand there when I do my lines, and they don't even stand there, right? Because why would they take time standing with me? So it's always a little concern. And then I'd heard, but you heard that he was a ladies' man. That was something going on, and I thought, well, I'm going to be flirting with him. I'm going to try to seduce him because of the storyline, basically, to come with me. And so I was a little interpret about how far I could go. George was the nicest, most warm, perfect gentleman. He was the best. I could not have asked for a better partner or somebody to work with. He had a huge trailer, and he said, hey, come on and stay with me in here, and would eat there or whatever. Because as a guest star, you get a small trailer somewhere. And he was just super wonderful. I couldn't say anything better about him. I loved him. It's great.
Okay. So that's obviously that's the main sort of premises or team that people have. They either have good things to say about George, or they have bad things to say about George in terms of his history on the A-Team, in terms of guest people that have come on. But it's good to see that you have only fond, loving memories of the departed George Peppard.
Yeah, he never hit on me, which is something that women in Hollywood you have to watch for when you're on a set with someone, because you can't, it's a fine line, right? How you treat people. He was just great. I have nothing bad to say about him at all. He was very inclusive of me, but a gentleman. So that felt really great.
And how did it feel going on a sort of a testosterone-driven show, a macho man type of a show as an actress? Because the A-Team, that's what it was all about, really. It was a guys type show, a male type show. That was its main demographic, as sort of such in terms of that. So were you sort of conscious that you were going on the A-Team, that this was going to be your audience, as sort of such?
I watched the show myself. And I thought, this is fun. I'm just going to make this fun, because whatever it is, I'm going to have to jump in and I'm going to have to work with these people no matter what happens. And it's not the biggest part. So I'm just going to make it fun and I'm going to make the best of it. And that's how I always feel. And I enjoyed it. And I have a lot of, I think, testosterone myself. I like to do dangerous sports and, you know, jumping out of airplanes and hang gliders and things like that. And I think it was great.
Okay. And Lena, in terms of some of the other guest members now, we always hear stories about Mr. T during breaks and lunchtime and being cracking jokes and food canteens and sort of all the kids coming to him whenever they were shooting in between sort of breaks and being surrounded, always wanting autographs. And basically, wherever T went during his time on set in the A-Team, he always seemed to be in demand. And did you have any interactions with him, or what did you observe from your time in relation to Mr. T?
I observed that he had some kind of magnetic thing. He was very quiet, you know, he didn't say much. And he did crack jokes, but and there were people who did want his, he was probably the most popular character on that show, I think, because he was just so different, you know, with all his gold and stuff. I had a funny thing with him, I thought. Wait, not that funny, but they dumped me and Jack in a hot tub, right? The hot tub was not so hot. It was cold. It was in Malibu, which were on the beach. We were on the beach, not right on the beach, but the house was close to the beach. It was foggy and it was freaking cold. Like, it was cold, and we had to sit there because there were quite a few people, so you have to do close up on everybody. And I was wet and I had the towel around me, and Mr. T had one line, and he flubbed it at least 20 times. I was just sitting there shivering, going, please, please, please make him do it, make him say it right. But it took, and I couldn't understand that, because Jack and everybody was having all these monologues or conversations, and he had one line. I thought maybe he did it on purpose, but I don't know.
Yeah. Obviously, he was enjoying himself. In terms of Lena, in terms of, you mentioned Jack Ging, obviously no longer with us as well, who played General Fulbright, and he was probably one of the guys who came in as a guest star, and they realized how good he was that he became a recurring sort of star as well. And Jack obviously is probably one of those liked guys in terms of, obviously he plays the authority, but he's sort of bad comes sort of good, but people were sort of drawn to Jack Ging, the actor, as well, whenever he was on set. He was, dare I say, he was one of the guys who could go toe-to-toe with George Peppard in terms of capturing a scene.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought he was a tremendous actor. I mean, he had a lot. Yeah, I thought he was really, really great. And he was a kind person too. He joined me and George Peppard in George's trailer. You know? So it wasn't just me and George. He was just, they seemed that they got along really well. I didn't see anything after that, but yeah, good actor, really, really wonderful actor. Yeah.
And I suppose, Lena, that brings us on to another character, and much of his portrayal on the A-Team is that he's this charismatic flash by, this sort of ladies' man, a sort of player. But everyone who I've spoken to said he's quiet, he's quite shy, quite reserved, quite humbled, keeps to himself, doesn't mention much words. The one and only Dirk Benedict. And how did you find Dirk? Did you find him that to be a quite shy, quite reserved guy, and he very polite, didn't say very much sort of words, offset, completely different to the character that he portrayed on screen? Was that your sort of memories of Dirk Benedict as well?
Absolutely. But up until now, I thought that was because of me. So I'm really thankful and grateful that other people perceived him the same way. Yes, he was acting. I remember he tossed me in the car and things like that. But when we were done, he walked away or went somewhere else, maybe talked to the crew or whatever. He was not exactly standoffish, but kind of borderline. I was thinking, did I say something? Because I didn't understand why he couldn't at least be friendly. But I also thought that during that time he might have gone through his health problems. I think it was earlier he had cancer, but he was going through something. So, but he wasn't. I had expected him to be charming, and no, I mean he didn't even try. He kind of just put this wall up. Yeah.
And I suppose Lena, the other main sort of character, and everyone who shares their memories of Dwight Schultz says intelligent, can talk to a room, can talk for hours upon hours, can talk about absolutely anything to everyone. Everyone that sees him always, he's one of those guys that you can always chat to, sort of normal. Seems every day-to-day type of a guy, can talk about everything, so smart, so witty, very liked. Dwight Schultz in terms of the role of Murdoch. And people say that if you could meet a more intellectual man and a guy that was so sharp and so quick-witted on everything, that you struggle to find someone like that in Hollywood. Well, so the character he played was sort of potty, but he was able to go off in these improvs, was Dwight Schultz, but very astute, very intelligent when the cameras weren't rolling.
You know, that's someone that I really wanted to meet and have scenes with. I didn't have any scenes with him. I think he was in a mental institution during my scenes, so he wasn't part of it. I did meet him on set, I believe, but I didn't have much interacting, and that I missed, because I do think his character, I think you have to be very bright to play that character somehow.
Yeah.
And I would have loved to meet and actually interact with him on screen. That would have been wonderful, but he wasn't. I don't know. I mean, you know, writers. I'm a writer now, so you know, you do things for a reason and you put different plot lines in. So that's what happened. But that's like a missed opportunity, I think, for me, that I didn't.
And Lena, you mentioned there about sort of scenes on the A-Team and coming as a guest actress there, and you mentioned hot tub scenes, and you mentioned sort of scenes in terms of when you sign up to a guy show and you sign up to a sort of a male testosterone show, and you're a young actress at the time, you're probably only 22, 20. I know it's nothing over the top, but you sort of expect that that's going to be the norm for a 22, 23-year-old actress that plays, that this is part of the role. If you've got good looks, if you've got good features, if you're going to be on the A-Team playing one of these, given that you're going to be either interacting with Faceman or George Peppard, that it is a sort of a guy sort of driven show, the audience in terms of, dare I say, wants to see these sorts of things.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I get that. It's kind of the same as Game of Thrones, right? I read all the books of Game of Thrones, and there was not that many sexy women dropping their clothes in the books, right? So the audience, you have to write to the audience. The audience, in this case, they want explosions, they want tons of vehicle chases and stuff, and they want pretty young women. And if they can put them in that hot tub, even better, I think.
Yeah.
You know, so that's you have to understand that. And also, with me being playing accents in a rainbow of shapes, basically, I did all these, most of those parts were like that. And you get it. It's not that they're very complex most of the time. I did theater too, so I could get that in. But that's just what TV is, and what that certain audience wanted, and you have to understand that.
And do you think, Lena, maybe having a credit on the A-Team on your resume, obviously on your IDB Pro, and as we see now, all this sort of credits that list everything back and actors and actresses throughout the years, but way back then in the 80s, do you think having that on your resume helped open doors and future opportunities, having a guest appearance on a cable TV show that has been probably the #1 viewed show in America at that time, all across America, USA? Do you think it sort of opened up doors for other sort of roles and even longer roles?
I think so. I think, yeah, Absolutely. Those shows that are most popular, A-Team, Murder, She Wrote, those, if you run those, you wouldn't be hired unless you can do what it takes, right? Even if it's a smaller part. So those other shows, it might not have the same clout with it. So I do think that those shows that were very popular and went on for a long time, they did that for a reason. And I think most guest stars were well known or about that. Yeah.
And Lena Pousette, what is everything happening for you now in the world in 2023? Obviously, we know what's going on in terms of LA and Hollywood, but outside of that, have you been able to do much? Have you been able to keep busy? Are you still active in the business, or have you strayed away from that?
Oh, I actually started writing because I felt like all my parts are very shallow, you know, and they were, and I understood that. So I have been screenwriting. I've quite a lot of projects that I've done. I also did interactive writing with interactive films with Robert Culp and people like that starring that won awards. But right now, this moment, I have 4 projects that I have written that are in development. One in England with the British director Werner Schumann, and we have 2 producers, one in America and one in England. I have another one in Los Angeles that has gotten, it's not quite done, the feature, but the pitch that the producer I'm working with gave heavy interest of streamers. So that's really good. And then I have one in Turkey. And then one in South Africa. And the South African one I love. It's a TV show dealing with anti-poaching, anti-trophy hunting.
Okay.
So I'm a producer on some of them as well. So I'm really busy, actually.
You're all over the world. You're spreading the continent. Huh? And Lena.
Okay, I just want to say, being an actor, it makes it so much easier to write. And people usually say, your dialogue is great, because I'm an actor, so that's what you listen for. So it really helps. The more you do in the industry, it really helps. Sorry to interrupt.
And you mentioned there, obviously, a project in the UK. Have you ever ventured that bit further across the pond to Ireland, even as a tourist in your travels at the time?
I've not been to Ireland, but the producer we have in London, we're looking at tax incentives right now. And he goes, Ireland, we should really shoot this in Ireland.
Part of the European Union. So you have all the EU Ireland is still part of the European Union. So you have that going for you.
Yeah, I'm Swedish. I'm European Union. So I have that. England, they don't have as much. But yeah, so I might, send you an email, say, hey, I'm in Ireland.
West Coast.
Shooting.
Yeah.
West Coast, is that where you are?
Yeah, West Coast of Ireland is more all the scenic, where you get all the landscapes, the attractions, the medieval castles, all the sort of Viking castles, the Normandy castles, all the Danes, that's all along the west coast of Ireland, up along the sort of west. So east is Dublin, the main city, the main capital, but the west then you have Galway, Limerick, Clare, Mayo. They're the real stunning areas, and I think of the country anyway. Personally,
that's what we're looking for. The set is pretty. It's one location. It's a little bit more, but one house. Right now, it's modern with a fantastic garden and a pool and a greenhouse. That's what we're looking for.
Okay, check out Dromoland Castle in County Clare. Dromoland Castle. Dromoland Castle in County Clare. It's a real sort of 5-star sort of resort. It looks, it's very nice actually. That might be.
I'm taking a note.
Close to Shannon Airport as well, so you're only 10 minutes from an airport as well. So in terms of the West Coast, so if you had anyone flying in from the States, all you do is 10 minutes up the road. So
that's fantastic.
That's
Thank
convenient.
you for that.
That's convenient, yeah. Lena, finally, so for the final sort of 2 minutes or so, if you can sum up your memories of your time in the A-Team, if you could summarize it into 2 sentences, what would you like those 2 sentences to read?
I loved how exciting those times were and how wonderful, flashy that show was, but still having a wonderful cast and crew. that's one thing I didn't mention. When in the hot tub and Mr. T keeps flubbing, the makeup or the wardrobe people came up and tried to keep me warm in between takes. So but they were really caring. So it was both worlds. It was the flashy, big, that thing, and it was also people who cared and took great care of you. So it's a great time.
On that note, Lena Pousette, thanks for joining us there today to share your memories of the A-Team. You appeared on season 4, episode 23, that aired on May the 13th, 1986, playing the character Michele. Lena, thanks for your time. Thanks for your memories. I know you're very sort of busy, Anna, and wherever you are in the world today, do get out and enjoy the hot tub once again.
Thank you.
Okay, take care, Lena.
Okay, bye.